From the horse capital of the world, Lexington, Kentucky, this is Red Barn Radio. Wherever in the world you're listening, we welcome you. Tonight, Tom T. and Dixie Hall. Let's welcome Red Barn Radio's host, Brad Becker.
We are glad you're here. This is the place where we showcase the Jim Dandiest pickers from the region that you've maybe never heard of. Tonight might be an exception because we have a couple of people here tonight that you probably have heard of. Tonight we present the first in a series of appearances of inductees drawing from the Hall of Fame's biannual events that began in 2002. I'm so looking forward to introducing you all to Mr. Tom T. and Miss Dixie Hall, who are here with us this evening. Special treat for me and for all of us here. Thank you all for coming to be on Red Barn and help us celebrate all these anniversaries going on around us.
This is the sort of thing that makes me proud to be a Kentuckian. You know, I was born about 60 miles from here up the road in Olive Hill, Kentucky. Population 1,300. I did that on Hee Haw one night, and if y'all remember that show, everybody, you got to stand up and give your name of your hometown, you know.
Oh, all right.
We have a couple of friends in Canada who are listening to us.
Janet McGarry, who is the daughter of Bluegrass,
Yeah.
and Serge Bernard.
Yeah, good friends of ours, and they come to Nashville and visit, you know, for the festivals they have there, the IBMA and the Spigma Awards and all that. And my old friend Bill Castle, from my hometown of Olive Hill, Kentucky, is having a birthday, so we wish him a happy birthday. I don't know if he's listening. Do they have kerosene computers? If he might be listening. Back in the hills there.
Do you remember your childhood very well in Olive Hill?
Oh, sure.
Do
yeah.
you? What do you remember?
Well, I remember we were poor.
You've been poor ever since. Every time I want to go shopping, we're poor.
Yeah. Well, we grew up in the country. We didn't know we were poor until we read about it in the Saturday Evening Post. You know, somebody brought the mail. Now, I had a great childhood. We lived out in the country, and we raised our own veggies, and we had a cow that gave milk, and chickens that laid eggs, and I was in charge of the vegetable garden, and I hoed that thing out. There were 10 children in our family. And we all had jobs, you know, different jobs. And mine was cutting kindling and mowing the garden. And I had a beautiful childhood. In the morning, I would get up and go out the back window and go fish, you know, when I wasn't hoeing the garden. And back in those days, this seems like a strange culture, but nobody missed me, you know. Like 10 kids.
Yeah, right.
I mean, one disappears, you know, that's just one, you know. And there was no place you could go, you know. You're out in the country, you're 7 miles from, you know, the biggest town. And so I had a beautiful childhood growing up in Kentucky. Unfortunately, I had 2 older brothers, and that's how I learned to swim. They just picked me up and threw me in the creek, and when I got back to the bank, they said, "You can swim now." And then I had some younger brothers,
And you did the same to them, I'm sure.
yeah, that's the way they learned to swim, yes, as soon as I got big enough to throw them in the creek and so.
Got to ask, music in the household?
Yeah, my father was a Baptist preacher, but he was a closet 5-string banjo player. And he was a little bit of a liberal because he made wine, he made his real wine for communion. When they had communion, they could really sing, you know. It got a lot better than me, you know. I said, hey, they're having a good time in there. Fortunate enough, you can't, you know, choose your relatives or where you're born, but I was lucky enough to be born in Kentucky, and it's always good to come back.
I was thinking about that blackberry wine your daddy made.
Yeah, he shared some of it with Miss Dixie one night, and she was preparing dinner, and my father and I were sitting in the living room talking, and she comes in to see if we need anything, and we didn't because we had a little glass of, you know, blackberry wine. She started back to the kitchen, ran into the door frame, and we took the blackberry wine away from her so we could have some dinner that night. And turned out okay.
I thought it was fruit juice.
How long ago did the two of you meet?
We met at a BMI dinner in the 70s. Just about
60s.
60s. Oh, okay.
The years pass so fast.
They really have, and who would have thought it was 10 years ago when all this started? 10 years, they're just gone.
Yeah. The night I went in the Hall of Fame, I think, Bill Monroe,
Bill, yeah.
then Rosemary Clooney. It was a nice evening, and it was a great honor to be there for that. And then we've been back to put some other people in, like Melvin and
I hope we get to put Charlie Sizemore and Don
yeah.
Rigsby in there.
Oh,
Wouldn't that be-
I've met some old friends here. I played
Yeah.
with a couple of guys in this band. I played with Kurt. I used to hang around with J.D. Crowe, and J.D. would let me get up and sing with him, and Kurt was there. I think we played Bean Blossom and some other places. And Danny, I've known Danny for years because he played with Charlie Sizemore, and Charlie Sizemore and I he hangs around our house, and he's a very good friend. So we see a lot of Danny. And Danny was there playing the mandolin. And I demoed this song, writing songs and pitching them to people. Mm-hmm. So I got Charlie Sizemore to do this demo for me, a song called Bill Monroe for Breakfast. It's about my childhood growing up. It says, we had Bill Monroe for breakfast every day, on the radio,
Uh-huh.
So we demoed the song, and I thought it came off real good. And I thought Charlie would be impressed with it and go back and record it. But he didn't. And so I recorded it, and it became a #1 bluegrass record. So take that,
Well,
Charlie.
show him.
Charlie's back in Prestonsburg, Kentucky now, so he's probably got one of those kerosene computers up there.
Yeah, that's right.
Here's host Brad Becker speaking with Tom T. and Dixie Hall.
I must admit, I Googled a little bit about your Fox Hollow, the children's CD, and saw some pictures of the place where you all live, and it really looks idyllic. Did you all have a nice holiday there? Do you have some traditions that you all have during the holiday?
Yeah, he went upstairs and watched TV, and I went in the studio and sat down all by myself and
Oh.
drank a Diet Coke and petted the dogs, and it was pretty wonderful.
Some
It sounds lovely.
Now, she was cooking, and I was watching football. Football games. I hate to see the football season end. I'm beginning to wonder, how do people live without football?
Dixie was saying that there's always discussion about shopping, and evidently she enjoys shopping. You don't, because you're the guy who likes to watch football. A few years ago, you gave Dixie a special gift.
Well, let Tom T go first, and then I can tell you the truth.
Okay, good. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, okay, good.
While we were trying to figure out some kind of Christmas plan, she'd been trying to get me to do an album, and I had retired, 12 years ago or so. And she said, you ought to do another album. And I said, well, I don't know. I'm retired, and I'm having a good time. And so for Christmas, I said, I'll do a new album, and what I'll do an album of songs that we wrote together. How many songs were we written together? And
Several hundred.
several hundred. And had them recorded. Danny's played on some of them, and I know Kurt has too, because we've had them recorded by bluegrass musicians all over the world. And anyway, I went in the studio, and Miss Dixie produced it, and we hired a bunch of musicians, and she'll tell you she got all her favorite musicians to pick on it, so.
I want to hear Dixie tell this story now.
He was pretty much truthful about it. He thought he'd retired, and I think it's the greatest gift I've ever had. It was a thrill to get him, because he can still do it. Voices change, you sound a little different, you sound a little more weathered, but there's more soul there. I mean, look at Ralph Stanley, my goodness, he's 80 if he's a day. Yeah. And he's still going in there and putting out them hits.
Yeah, you would think Tom at 60 would be able to continue on too.
Yeah, well, we're
or
just
55.
about, I'll tell you a secret. We've got 2 down for his next one. By the end of the spring, I think we'll have another album ready to go.
Yeah, well, that's a nice promise that we'll look forward to. How did the CD actually end up coming together? Tom T. Hall sings Dixie and Tom T.
Right, that was it. And now it's come out in Europe and doing quite well over there. We just called, well, I called some of the best and most expensive musicians we knew. Fried up some chicken because Terry Eldridge was there. He's a big chicken eater. Mike Bubb and Kristen and Wayne Benson playing banjo and mandolin. It was just a fabulous, fabulous album. And then Don Rigsby helped mix it.
We got a studio out back. It's an acoustic music studio. We don't want any drums or amps or, you know. If we could, we'd record without electricity, you know, but you got to plug up the equipment, I guess. So, and we encourage young groups come through there, and we help them out, you know.
We've had some wonderful, wonderful artists there, though. Joe Isaacs came in, and we did a great one with the Joe Isaacs family. All the kids came. If someone is recording one of our songs, we want to return the favor. We invite them in and to use the studio gratis if they wish. And we have some apartments where they can stay. They can't shoot the turkey and they can't shoot the deer and they can't fish, but we feed them well.